everyone. Jen Drake's back on streaming about Divintastical living. And in this stream, what we do is we explore Divintastical living as well as embrace it. So we'll be here for the next little while. So buckle in, join in the discussion. And what I am asking our listeners and viewers about today is, what are you holding on to? What things are you holding on to that you cannot seem to let go of? And that it is somewhat, driving some of your habits and your behavior and your thought patterns. So what is that? What are you holding on to? What can't we let go of? What is it? Right? Join, and everybody come on, join on, and let's have this discussion. And we all have something. Like there's something. It's not sometimes always at the forefront of our thinking, but how do we let go? I did a live this week about just let it go. I should have called this letting it go. And why can't we let it go? Right? Do we need to vent? Do we need to go in a barren area and scream our lungs out in order to be able to let things go? And it's not everything, obviously, but there's some things in life that we just hold on to. And I wonder what it is that allows us to hold on to it. When is enough enough? When is it time to let it go? When is that? So I'm interested to hear, what are those things that you are holding on to? What are some of those things that drives you crazy or drove you crazy at one point, and you could not, and you no longer, or you have a hard time, or you maybe even don't want to admit you're still holding on to it? That is always possible, right? What is that? I have to tell you, as I'm here waiting for people to join this stream, I had some freshly baked cookies and I'm eating that. So I'm nibbling as I go. Don't ask. Hey, it's live. What happens, happens. um, but what are those things that you are holding on to? So, why can't you let it go? Jump on, be a guest, talk to me. What are things that you are holding on to that you can't seem to let go of? Right? What is that? What are some of those things Jen's asking you? And it's like they just, you sometimes they're not even in the forefront. You're just going about your day, but they guide sometimes your choices, your decisions, and how you think, because it impacted you in some way, and or it hurt you. It's not just always about things, it's also sometimes we're holding on to hurts. So what are some of those things that you can't let go of? Right? I've been spending the last few years working on myself, up leveling my mindset, changing my priorities, and letting go. So I know when I say to you, what will it take for you to let go? I asked earlier, is it going to take going into a barren area and screaming your lungs out? Is it going to be just being able to vent and talk about it? Or is it, how serious are you about letting some of these things go? So the question of this hour is, what are you holding on to? And for those that are joined, I see people now jumping on. Thank you for joining. I always appreciate it. Feel free to jump on as a guest. Would love to have and talk to you. I am Jen Drakes, and I on here. I come on every 2 weeks for my evening stream on a Saturday. So jump on. And the question at the top of the hour is, what are you holding on to? What are the things that you can't seem to let go of that is impacting your life? Like, is it something that's impacting your life? So, who wants to be the first to jump on and talk about this and share? Because these things, some of these things can have poisonous tentacles in your life. And some of them are harmless. Some of them are harmless. But more than not, if you can't let go of it, it does have some impact. And you might have been hurt by a circumstance. You might have been, affronted in some way, insulted. It might have been a painful point in your life, whatever, and what age too. Can you even recall when it happened to you? So there's these, for me, I can tell you one. I've let go of it, but I can bring it back up to share. Is a teacher telling me I would never amount to anything, right? Um, and those sort of things, they really, you don't forget them, right? But you're able to let go because what? Guess what? They were wrong. But that stayed with me, but that one proved to be a motivator. It motivated me to do something with my life. I was never going to allow this teacher to be right. So it was a positive thing. But some of those things you can forgive, you don't forget. I always say you never forget, right? We know that. But what are you holding on to that you can't let go? Jump on, share. Are you thinking about it? You're there going, oh, what are some of those things? Oh, that girl, that friend of mine from way, way back, or a schoolmate, or a family member, and not that I'm not trying to hash up. I'm really asking because, as I said, they can have poisonous tentacles in your life. So, what are some of those things that you are holding on to, that you can't seem to get beyond? And when it comes to that, I then ask, change your focus then on the thing, and find out, what lesson did I learn from it? What good could I take away from the situation? Right? What lessons could I learn from it? And sometimes that would help you go beyond. So think about it. Like, what are we holding on to? And I see on a societal level, there are things we're holding on to that we can't seem to get beyond. And what is it impacting? Right? So it's interesting. It's interesting how these things, sometimes they're small little things too. Like, we tend to want to jump to the big things that we recall right away. But what about the small things that we might have dismissed or not paid attention to, that still has a hold on us? So it's an interesting thing to consider, what some of those small things are that might have changed your behavior in some way, might have changed your perspective of something, and not necessarily a positive way. What are some of those things, right? Like the teacher telling me I never amount to anything motivated me. And I thought, in those days as a teenager, with the mindset I had back then, it's like, what a bee with an itch. What the hell? But it motivated me. It thing to prove them wrong. Like, why would you say something like that to a teenager? And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's had these sort of things. So what what are you holding on to? And how did it change you in some way, shape, or how did it change you? So jump on, let me know, or comment. But we are talking about, you know, embracing divintastical living. Well, first of all, before you can embrace it, let's explore it. And then, second of all, then hopefully you can embrace it. So, just for those that just recently jumped on, I'm Jen Drakes. Hopefully, you listened to my streams before and you're joining because you've heard me before. If not, I am the creator of Divintastical Living, a concept and movement for fully living life and not taking life for granted, recognizing that there's only a few things we're certain of in life. And let me tell you, one of them is that we will no longer be here at some point in time. So before that happens, let's make sure to live our life fully. And Divintastical Living, there's guidance on my Instagram. I post, guidance quotes and things that are mine. They're not taken from anybody else in terms of how to live and how to think about certain things in life, and really try to embrace life in a meaningful way, in an intentional way, and in an exponential way, to really show your potential, to really live your potential. My belief is that a lot of us are not necessarily living their potential. They think they are. Even some of the ones that are successful, and again, that word is a word I don't like to use, is successful, because it's all very, um, it's really about your own perception of what success is. So you and I could be talking about success and have two completely different viewpoints of it. But we're using that word and saying we're successful. What does that mean? But not to go down a rabbit hole. The whole thing on Divintastical Living is to just recognize that the fact of our human existence, and trying to make it as fulsome as we can in the time that we have, because we never know when the having stops. And the other aspect of Divintastical Living is a belief that our divine is within us, and we tap into that divine to get our potential and to recognize our potential, and then strive to live our potential. So these are the things that have inspired me with this whole, what I now call a movement, is how do you live divintastically? What does that mean? Well, one of the first things is it means leading with love. It means every day you get up, and put the intention to lead with love, right? And to have that really understanding and accepting and embracing aspect to your being, to the aura and the vibrations that you send off. And all of us has vibrations, and rhythms that people pick up on, and trying to make sure that that is received well because of your intentions. And so there's a whole aspect to Divintastical Living. And every 2 weeks I stream to talk about some aspect of it. And for each hour, I change the subject. And for this hour, we are talking about what are we holding on to, that we, you know, it comes to mind when you start to think of it. You go, oh, yeah, that I haven't forgotten, I haven't forgotten, not necessarily forgiven. And it still surrounds me. How do you then address that and get rid of that? And my certifications and designation, because I'm board designated, um, is about looking at all those sort of things in our language or behavior, and being supported to change the things you wish to change the things that are holding you back, to change the things that are guiding you outside of your awareness, first to bring you into awareness, and then to give you the resources and the skills you need to change the behavior or guide yourself in a different way. So for this hour, it's about what are you holding on to that is not taking you down the right path or not working for you. Like, one of the things I always say is, how's that working for you? Right? How's it working for you? Are you getting what you wanted? Are you getting what you needed? Is your life heading in direction that you wanted it to go? Are you having a moment where you're sitting and going, how did I get here? And sometimes that answer to how did I get here stems from something you're holding on to. Like even very recently in my up leveling, and I've spent years working through it, working through it. And still, even as I grow, there's remnants of it there that then I have to address coming from a different perspective, because as you grow, it comes at you from different perspective. But this is one from my childhood that's been embedded in my whole psyche. So even if when I get past one layer and I grow, then it hits me from a different viewpoint. I've got to address it again. But what happens is each time now I'm recognizing when it's kicking in. So now I'm able to see it, pause, self correct, and move on. But that thing that's is there for me is from when I was young and living with my grandmother and her, you know, and just some of her messaging is there, and the treatment of her is still there. So every now and then I still have to deal with things from it. So what are you holding on to? What are some of those, for that one, it used to be painful. It's not painful. You can, if you were watching, depending on what platform are watching from, you could see me, and other people may not can only hear me. But if you could see me, you can honestly see that I'm not moved by talking about it anymore. There was a time when I would talk about it, I would burst into tears because it was that painful. Well, there's not a pain there, and there's a lot more better understanding of the situation, the circumstance, the mindset, the resources and the environment that led to that. So I can now talk about it a lot more, and I'm not beholden by it. But that took work. It seriously took work, and it certainly took awareness on how it impacted me. So, what are those things that are impacting you that you may not even realize to what depth it's impacting you? But what are, as you're thinking, you're going, what are those things that suddenly come to mind that breeds irritation from you, breeds slight, you know, how should I say, lack of patience, makes you impatient, right? These are some of the things that happen, and you don't even realize you suddenly become impatient with something because something somebody did triggered it, threw you back to that time. And then there's a little bit of impatience or irritation, or even sometimes anxiety comes up. Suddenly you're nervous, you don't know why, but something triggered that. So the greater we become more self aware of ourselves and begin to really know ourselves and peel the onion skin of ourselves, is when we start to see when it happens and know what to do to self correct and to just move forward in a more positive way. So I'm asking, what what is something that you are holding on to, even is it work related, is it friendship related, is it family related, is it childhood related? What are some of those things? Because many of us have it. And so even if you don't want to talk about it, think about it and see, when you think about it, depend on where you are in your journey, what would you do, change, what could you do, what could you change to lessen the pain, lessen the hurt, lessen, become more recognizing more what it delivered to you in a positive way than what it took away or did to you. And I always direct things to the positive side of things, because every downturn, upturns as well. So all your ups and your downs delivered a lesson of some kind. What are those lessons? And the getting to the lesson is what allows us to move on, to move forward, to go forward in more positive ways. It's when we are held back, it's like shackles on your feet holding you back, that prevents us from moving forward in positive ways. So, what are some of those things? And so we're just going to, you know, explore that a little bit more and see what some of those. And you know, I invite anyone to jump on as a guest. Would love to talk to you and see what you think about this. And you know, what are your thoughts around that? Are you holding on? Do you believe people are holding on to things? Sometimes you hear it says a grudge, right? I always say to people, I don't handle things well when people come back to me 3 months, 6 months, a year, couple of years after an incident to tell me about an incident. And I'm like, why didn't you just say something? Why didn't you just approach it sooner? Even if you couldn't do it in the immediacy, go off, think about it, reflect, and come back. But I can't deal with it months and years later. I I'm one of those people lost at that. And sometimes they say, you know, they divide those sort of feelings between male and females and go, men are like that. But then I must be thing because I can't. I honestly, I'm a female and I can't deal with it. I'm like, why didn't you just say something? What? Why are we talking about this now? And then it seems like when that happens, you're already at odds because for the person bringing it up, they perceive it that you're dismissing it, but you're not. It's just your brain can't process it because it was such a long span of time, right? So, and then they think you're dismissing how they feel. No, I'm not dismissing. I can say sorry, but my brain's still trying to process why now? Why at this point in time? So, you know, we are all different and and process things differently. But, you know, are you holding on to something? And why this is also very important to me as a topic to explore is because of the universal law of oneness. So ever all our thoughts collectively depend on them creates an energy that drives the world as a one, you know, as a unified thing. Our thoughts, the thoughts that we put out there really gets absorbed and affect. Then if I'm holding on to something, if I have a grudge, if I'm keeping somebody in mind, if I'm saying in my head bad things about other people, that's a thought that energy is going out into the world. And, you know, that is something I don't want to have coming from me outward. So that's why also I think it's important for people to understand that the energy they put out does get absorbed by the rest of the world. And as part of that universal law of oneness. So when you think of it that way, what do you want to be putting out? It isn't bad thoughts. You want to be putting out good thoughts for yourself as well as for others. So if holding on to a grudge puts you in a state where you are now venting, putting out bad thoughts, then let's figure out how to get over what you're holding and then move on in very positive ways. So, what is that? Right? What is it that you can't let go of? And the other aspect to that question, too, that I want to touch on is we know we have the past, the present, and the future. If you're here in the now, holding on to something from the past, then you're really anchored in the past. You're not anchored in now. And do you want to be anchored in the past? I certainly don't, because I've had people say to me, would you go back to your 20s? And I say, hell no. That's, I say, hell no, I don't want to go back to my 20s. So why would I want to anchor there? Right? Why would I want to anchor my thoughts, my behavior, my feelings, and all of that there? If I wouldn't want to physically return there, why would I anchor there in other aspects of my being? So that's the other aspect to what are you holding on to? Because depending on just how vehemently and passionately you're holding on to whatever you're holding on to, then there's a likelihood you're not even anchored in the present, or you're partial. But who wants to be anchored in the past? I just want to learn my lessons and live in the now, driving for the future. So, what are your thoughts around all of this that I am talking about? I mean, it's really about mindset. And I am always amazed that at the end of the day, when we talk about all sorts of things, I don't care whether it's passion, whether it's all about mindset. And we had I was, because I co host a show called Get Awesome. And on the Get Awesome show, on Wednesday, we opened the month with the topic of journaling. And we were talking about journaling. And journaling is something that really sets your intention. But what we were saying is that also through journaling, you get to see where your mind was at that time that you journal. So if you put a journal that you wrote down for a number of years and return to it, you really then do get to see evidentiary, the growth that you've achieved, whether it be small, large, or massive. You get to see that because you read what you wrote and you think, wow, my mind was messed up, or wow, I was really, you start to see the maturity of your thinking. So that came up in talking about journaling. And you would, so this is why journaling can be really pivotal to your journey, to you as you're evolving. Journaling can be the testament of your story and your thoughts and your growth and your mindset as you grew, and and what desires and wants and needs you had at a point in time. So that was an interesting aspect to that topic. There was a lot of other interesting aspects. If you want to see it, just jump on the Get Awesome group, Facebook group. It's a public group. It's called Get Awesome. I mean, you can just look at the episode, but it was a very interesting episode from the different benefits of having a journal. So, yeah. So let's talk. What are you holding on to? What is something you're holding on to? I invite anyone to jump on as a guest and we can discuss it. But I'm interested to know your thoughts about that, and about how it might, how you're thinking about it. And it's okay if you say you don't have any things you're holding on to. I'm not sure I'd fully believe, because I do think we have the tendency sometimes to just hold on to things. And as I said earlier, we also always think with this question that it has to be the massive things. But the little things sometimes are more impactful to us than the big things. Because the big things you could see, you know how you feel about it. You start to put your emotions in perspective, and you think about the big things. But what about the small things that really were like, thorns in your side? And it's there paining you, hurting you, whatever, but you're not focused on it because it's a small little thing, like a splinter. I remember one of my family members had a splinter and they ignored it because it was so deeply embedded. It wasn't painful, but when you looked at their finger, you could actually see the dark mark of it. And then we then worked to bring it out, but it wasn't like it was giving her any pain, but we were more concerned it would embed even further. So some of these small little things that we're holding on to is somewhat like that, right? They're embedded, but they may not be far enough to say it's a massive thing, but yet they still impact how you move your finger. you know when you look at your finger, seeing a mark there, it has these kind of impacts. So there's a metaphor, analogy for you on how to think about even the small things that you hold on to. And who holds grudges? I'm curious to know. Are you, you know would you jump on as a guest and tell me if you're the type of person that holds a grudge? Would you be comfortable doing that? If you are, jump on and let me know. I'm curious. Who out there who are listening holds a grudge? And for those that, even if you're catching it in replay, put a comment and just let me know if you're a person that holds grudges. I always find it's fascinating to me those who hold a grudge, and sometimes for how long people can hold grudges for, because there are people that can hold grudges for very 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 long time. um and I'm never sure what they get out of that. Like, what do you get out of holding a grudge for that amount of time? By the time, even if it's, the person associated with that grudge, they've moved on with their life. Are they even remembering? It's very interesting. I don't, that's the part I'm not sure what one gets out of holding a grudge. And you can tell by me saying that. And this is not in any judgment of anybody. All your feelings are valid and you're entitled to them. I'm just curious. I'm not a person that holds a grudge. I'm a person that when something happens, I say what I have to say. And if I get muzzled and I don't get to say what I need to say, that tears me up. Like, it really does have an impact. And I get angry, it really does. I would rather just say what I have to say and move on, right? And that isn't always possible. And that is something that doesn't sit well with me. But then I also know people who hold grudges. They don't want to let go of it. Some of it some people put a whole story around it, like an entire story around it. And like some become glamorous stories, some become adventurous stories, and some are just plain stories, just so they can hold on to it. And as I said, totally fascinates me as to what they get out of doing that on their side, because they're not hurting the person they're holding the grudge for. Most of the time, I've found that there's no impact to that person. That person had an incident, a circumstance, a situation, moved on, and they're not worrying about somebody holding on to that. So yeah, those sort of things fascinate me. They really do. So what things are you holding on to? Let me just grab my tea. I have my tea all here, and I'm thirsty. I should have had water. I didn't bring water this time, but uh, so yeah, what things are you holding on to? Who's going to be brave enough to jump on and talk to me about that? Right? What are your thoughts about people who hold on? Here's another aspect, actually. Who's been subject to it? And come on, a very common situation is divorce. Divorce situations, people hold on sometimes, right? People hold on. They can't get, it takes them a while to let go, right? So who's been the subject who's been the brunt of someone holding on? That's another aspect to this topic. So who's gonna be brave enough to jump on and chat with me about it? Um, but what are you holding on to? And just talk it out. And I'm curious, and if you've been the brunt, how did it make you feel? What do you think about that? That somebody, you know, has something, thoughts in mind for you, and stuff like that. What do you think? Like, some people have thoughts in mind for others that are good thoughts, but when it's angry thoughts, it's interesting. So, and so there's the other side. There's the one holding the grudge, and there's the one who's the subject of the grudge. And two perspectives. And love, now I feel like a bit like Oprah. Can we get a show about that? Or Dr. Phil, about two people holding grudges. the receiver of the grudge, and the other one that's holding the deliverer of the grudge. That would be an interesting conversation. Or and more than likely, I would not be surprised if there were completely two perspectives of the situation. Each person walked away with two completely different viewpoints on the situation. I would not be surprised if that was indeed the case. And they're probably surprised you're holding a grudge on that, because I was thinking that that was, blah, blah, blah. And the person's like, so it's the one holding the grudge. There is a no-win situation, because if you don't see it as, um, if you see it as pretty lame, or they're gonna get hurt, and they're gonna think you're dismissing them and their feelings, which isn't always the case. So it's one of those, like, you can't win. You just can't win. So jump on. I encourage anyone to jump on and chat with me. I'm just taking a bite of my cookie. So I made some fresh cookies, but I took too long to make them, and so I had to bring them into to my stream. But that's okay. I'm enjoying them. Um. So yeah. So we're talking for this first hour about what we're holding on to. And has an impact in our lives. And whatever it is, if it involves somebody else, or do they even know? Are they even aware of this? Or are you doing this in isolation? And why then? Why even bother? Right? What does it mean for you holding on to it? How does it serve you to hold on to this? So, really curious about this. Would love to talk to someone about it. So if you want, jump on and be a guest. And I just want, for all the new ones that had jumped on, I'm Jen Drakes, and here talking about really exploring and embracing Divintastical living, which is a concept that I founded and created. Is somewhat becoming a movement. I have Divintastical living guidance that I post on my Instagram. So look at it. It's a whole life. It's a commitment to a certain lifestyle in which you recognize whatever religion you're in. It's not religion based or anything like that. It's about where do you look to for your divinity? For me, I look internal for my divinity and my divine. And so this, my whole thing is about self-care, self-worth, honoring thyself, filling your cup to overflowing, so that you can then help to fill other people's cups and help to support other people without depleting your energy and your life force. So all of this is Divintastical living. I've also launched a Divintastical Living Institute, in which is a life school and nurturing center, and I get to practice my life strategy, because that's my thing. I'm a life strategist and a business accelerator, and I get to practice the supporting others in really understanding their thoughts, their behavior, and addressing any behaviors that needs to be changed, limiting beliefs, all of these sort of things. I'm board designated, certified as a master coach. I'm part of a very elite group of master coaches and coaches that operate in 42 countries, can operate in 42 countries. My services come with a guarantee, and this is who you're speaking with tonight. So, as I said, jump on. I'm more than qualified to have this discussion. What are you holding on to? and how is it impacting? If you want to jump on as a guest, please do so. I would love to have you, and just to first explore it and hear what you have to say about that. Whether you're on the receiving end of the grudge or the thing that's being held on to, or you are the deliverer of it, would love to get both perspectives. So, yeah. So, I talk about all of these self improvement, um, business improvement type things because they both cover personal. I do deal with both personal and business as well. Um, so, all these types of topics allows us to at least explore where our mind is, where's our focus, what mindset are we walking around with on a day-to-day basis, and what are the intentions with that mindset for yourself as well as for others. And the other part to it is, what vibrations are you putting off? Are you putting off vibrations that attract or detract? And if you are putting off vibrations that detract others, how do you want to change that? Do you feel should change that? How would you look at all of that? For me personally, I want a vibration that attracts. I don't want a vibration that detracts, that people run away from or don't want to be around. And not because I need them to be around. I just prefer to have positive vibes. And I would think you would want to have positive vibes. So, and there's some people okay not having that, but I don't think people do things with bad intentions. At least I don't think that anymore. I think people just do things based on what they believe to be true or not, until they have the experience that proves what they were thinking isn't true, or how that their viewpoint was flawed or something. But they really need to have experience sometimes around that to show that. So, what are you holding on to? Let me know. I want to also kind of give you a sense, especially if you're new to this, um, what some of the things we've talked about. In one of the earlier streams, I asked the question, are you living an extraordinary life? And if so, when? Right? And it was something, and it's extraordinary. Even though extraordinary, I love to break it up because the extra is really key there. Are you living an extraordinary life? The other one, which is what Divintastical living is all about, it's really becoming the artisan of your life. So when it first started, I asked, are you the artisan of your life? That was one of the questions we asked and discussed. Are you the artisan of your life? Because if you're not the artisan of your life, who is? You know, and you can't say to me, God, because I know the religious ones. I grew up in the church too. I know the religious ones will say God is. But no, he's not. You you're not gonna get where you want to be or need to be without doing something. So you have to be the doer. And we see that in many biblical stories where Noah had to build the ark. Moses had to go and gather the people and get them to a point to get across the water, and then take them to the promised land. There was still doing. So as the artisan of your life. You are the doer, you are co-creating your life and the life you want. So Divintastical living is about becoming the artisan of your life, because kneeling and saying, God help, or what, you still need to do something. So yes, you can be the artisan of your life. And that was just the answer. Because I had some, ones in religion say God is. Well, I appreciate you think that you're thinking that way, but I think things and biblical stories already prove that, you know, your divine might give you a pointer to something, but you still have to do the thing. You still have to do the do to get the thing, to get where you want to be or need to be, and so on. So, and when you become the artisan of your life, then that is where you can paint or weave what I call the you tapestry. So, what would your tapestry look like to reflect you? What would you have on it? What would I'd have birds, I'd have butterflies, I'd have, if I were to do, I'd have colors of all sorts of bright colors. Anybody knows me know I love bright colors. If you're looking at me, there's orange thrown on my chair. There's orange around me. That's my brand color. There's green in the midst of that orange. There's some blue. I'm wearing a red shirt. Like all around me are colors. So my tapestry would have colors, and it would be very texture sensory based, so that when you touch it, you go, ooh, or you look at it and you go, wow. That would be the type of tapestry my you tapestry would be. What would yours be? So those are some of the things we talked about in prior streams. And one stream I also had C.S. Lewis, where I said, you are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. And then that one we talked about dreaming and you know setting goals, the importance of goal setting, and how it focuses you, right? And how we should get back to dreaming, because as adults we stop the dreaming. We stop lying on, just throwing ourselves on a bed of grass looking up and just dreaming. And we need to get back to that. We need to have that abandonment to be able to do that, and really, just play a bit. And trust me, I'm guilty of that too. I use life as an excuse to say I'm busy, busy. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But at the end of the day, still got to take time to laugh. And one of my beliefs is we must laugh every day, definitely more than once a day. But if I'm happy with once a day, but you need to laugh every day. If 24 hours is passing and you're not really laughing, you need to check what's going on in your life. You need to check the life you're living. You need to really assess that, because laughter in of itself is a youth tonic. It's a tonic. It really helps every cell of your body when you do a deep, genuinely rambunctious laugh. And we all need to be to have that youthfulness and abandonment to do those sort of things. So that is the conversation we had with around C.S. Lewis. Imagine one little quote and we can have so much to talk about. And then there was one by Aristotle, in which he said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. And in that one, I shared that I myself am pursuing excellence. I won't settle for anything less. I really challenge myself to be an excellent human being, to be an excellent spirit in this world, and to move with excellence. So I challenge myself every day for that, and to be that. And part of that excellence is working with you and clients alike to help, to ease, to empower, to support. And so that quote is and that's the kind of conversations we had around that quote. And then we had one about holding silence. To what degree can you be silent, and for how long? And in this one, it wasn't just about being quiet, it was also about silencing your mind, having strength of mind to silence your mind. And that one is one I still struggle with. I get very meditative. Uh, I get very relaxed. If I get too relaxed, I just go off to sleep like most people. But silence in your mind, how long could you do it? I did a test the other day. Mine was 20 seconds. Is as long as the longest that I felt and it was a guesstimate, but the longest I felt that my mind was quiet. And then da chatter, chatter, chitter, 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 chatter. That's my mind anyway. That might not be your mind, but that's my mind. Chitter, chatter, chitter, chatter, sporadic, 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 sporadic. Thought, 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 thought. Grab this one. Thought, 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 thought. Grab this one. Ah, I laugh. That is my mind. So how do you silence that? I lasted 20 seconds. Some people were shorter, but mine was 20. Um, and again, going along the line to give you an example of the type of topics that we talk about, I also had a topic about who am I, and all about advocacy and the human experience. Things like, what do you value? What is value for you? How would you define value? How would you define wealth? How would you define prosperity? How would you define abundance for yourself? Right? And we know these things all have definitions in the dictionary. That's not what we're talking about. How do you define those things? Um, and then there was one about courage and bravery. How interesting is that one? Courage and bravery. And it's, we talked about being muzzled and how it's all about planting seeds. How a no, when we hear no, simply means next opportunity. So when you hear no in your pitch, if you're pitching something and someone says no, just go, next opportunity, your loss, not mine, move on. So we had a show talking about that. The next one was like choosing you. And this was all about, this was definitely Divintastical, this one. Is choosing you. Think about that for a moment. Choosing you. Even this conversation we're having, what are you holding on to? Even that is about choosing you. Why would you waste your energy and time focused on someone else that probably isn't, necessarily thinking about you? It's a choice for you. And the message that goes with that is all the Drakes, Brian, you are worth more. I always say I do what I do because I truly believe you are worth more. And I see the magnificence and the potential. I try my darndest, and I do see the magnificence and potential in most people I interact with. And I see my job, especially when I work with clients, even when I do what I'm doing now, and I'm podcasting and streaming, I see my job is unmasking that potential. Getting the person to see their own potential. That's what I'm here for. That's what I see as the job I do. And in doing that job, I send the message: you are worth it. You are worth more. Claim your worth. And this is going to lead me and segue me into the next point of view that I want to talk about in the next hour. And I'll come to that in a sec, but that was a beautiful segue into that. And talking about the whole of choosing you. And trust me, if you're a parent, I know how it is. I'm a parent. We always put everybody before ourselves. And I'm saying, stop it. Don't. Been there, done that. Don't. I'm not going to, if I have to, I support, but really choose yourself. But one of the sayings that came out of that discussion was disappoint others so you do not disappoint yourself. Choose to disappoint others rather than disappoint yourself. So the way to look at this is always try never to disappoint yourself, even if it means disappointing others. What a profound thought. What a profound thought. Right? And it's one of my Divintastical guidances. Right? And I repeat, never disappoint yourself, even if it means disappointing others. Right? And then we talk about clearing space for fertile ground. We also talked about we're in a changed world. We're never going to go back to pre-COVID times. I don't believe it, and I don't mind being proven wrong, but I don't see us ever going back to a pre-COVID time. So if people are sitting there waiting for the pre-COVID times to kick back, I don't see that happening. I really don't. So we talked about the many facets of change. And we talked about overall change, change related to aging, dimensional change from mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. And going into this new hour, I want to talk about, which is how we, I said that other one was a beautiful segue into this topic, is think of if, of you having a plot of land waiting there for you. It was there when you were born. It was there when you came into this world. Obviously, from born, you came into this world. It was there, set aside for you. And all you have to do is to recognize that, claim the land, cultivate the land, and sow the land. I mean, and plant seeds, nurture what's growing, and really make it your own, because it is your plot of land. Think of that concept for a minute. Let's just pause a minute and think of that. Does it? It's a very comforting thought. It makes you feel good, and you're like, so the question becomes, have you claimed your plot of land? Right? Have you claimed your plot of land? And yeah, play the, just indulge me. Just go into imagination. You were born and your divine set aside a plot of land for you to claim. And when you claim it, you do the do to cultivate it embrace it, grow it, make it your own. What a novel idea. What a concept. But with the concept comes the question, have you claimed your plot of land? Do you know what or where your plot of land is? And if you could imagine, where would it be? Because I can tell you right now, my plot of land would be one hell of an island. Beautiful sand beaches, weather, rain or sunshine, that's it. No hurricanes, nothing. Just either it rains or the sun shines. That's it. That would be my plot of land. It would have all the most amazing trees and foliage. It would have interesting animals, non-predatory animals, but it would have some amazing animals. It would have beautiful waters. There'd be a waterfall somewhere. See how I can get in and play and be childlike and start to describe my plot of land. I would have hibiscus trees on it, coconut trees, sea grape trees. If you don't want to know what sea grapes are, from the islands on the beach, there were trees that grow and they have fruits on them, and when you eat them, they're delicious fruits. So, right, it would have all these things. There'd be an apple orchard. I'd have sugar cane. Oh, I could keep going. What would be your plot of land? That's the question I have for you. What would be your plot of land, and what would it take for you to claim it? Because when we talk about our potential, when we talk about our life journey and where it's going, first of all, do you know where it's going? Do you have a game plan? Have you given it some thought? Have you, is it in your focus to manifest what you need? I'm working on it. You see me every day working on it. So when I think about the plot of land, it's a metaphor for just what is it that you're going after. So jump on and talk to me about these things. What would you be able to describe your plot of land? And for those of you that love the cold, your plot of land might be something like Iceland, with springs, with warm springs and beautiful sceneries. Might not be the warmest place, but it's a beautiful place. All right? What would be your plot of land? And I want to just take a moment and thank everybody for joining me. I just see the numbers going up. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you for the support and listening on. And please, and also please follow me. I encourage you to follow me. I do these talks right now. Every 2 weeks is when I do my streams on a Saturday evening, starting at 8. Today I was a little late starting. I had to. I started the cookies too long, too late, and I didn't want to start the stream and then they burn or anything like that. So, but anyway, TMI. Yeah. Anyway, but you get the point. What would be your plot of land? What would be your plot of land? And we're all, and as I said, it's a metaphor for what is it you're going after? And do you have actionable things leading to whatever you're going after? Because if you don't have those actionable things, goals, smart goals already in place, or be getting into place, then you're flying by the seat of your pants and doing trial and error as your way to get where you want to go. And as I always say, and I said it earlier, how's that working for you? Been there, done that. How's it working for you? And if it's working for you, then you could teach me a thing or two. But that didn't always work. That didn't work for me, right? And at one point, I got a school built, all this sort of stuff. So what, you know, what is it you're going after? You need to be pretty clear on that. So what is that plot of land for you? I have to show you this cup. It's look at this. I got this. And can you see it? I'm terrible at this. Yeah. So let me turn it. And with Christmas coming up, if you like Winnie the Pooh, you know, it's pretty. It's a beautiful, beautiful big cup, and I love big cups. So I got that. And well, I can stream, and it keeps my tea warm. So that's good. So what is your plot of land? A little diversion there. Right? What would you want it to be? If you could, what would you want it to be? Let us know, you know. So going into the second hour, we're talking about plot of land as an analogy for what are you going after? And is it going the way you were expecting? Or were you hit with surprises? I have to tell you, my cookies are really, really good. They're perfectly cooked. They're really, really good. Awesome. Right? What is what is your game plan for do you have a game plan? And do you feel, here's another thing to this conversation. Do you feel that that's in the works for you? Or do you feel you've hit all you can possibly hit or attain and that there's no more for you? I would probably be the first to tell you you're wrong. Because some people are literally pinned by fear to strive for anything more in their life. They say, I've gotten this, I've gotten that, I had to work so hard, I got here, that's it, I'm done. But what if there's more that you could do? What if there was more? Would you want to do something more? I happen to believe that if you have a bucket list, and many people do, especially after seeing the movie, then there's something more that you want to strive for. And I know sometimes the bucket list is I just want to go to the Seychelles, or I want to see South Africa, or I want to see Asia, or, um, you know, I want to bungee jump. Like, I know some of the bucket list is that, but still, even if it's those sort of things on your bucket list, that means that you're putting things aside. You're putting desires aside. You're putting things on the back burner. And more than likely, that means you are at the bottom of your priority list. More than likely. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can say, Jen, that's not true. I do come first, or I do come second. Maybe not first, but second. But having a bucket list tells me that you have so much more that you wish to do, and you are at the bottom of your priority list. And I'm going to be one of those, as someone who feel is to be your cheerleader, is to tell you that you should probably raise your priority on yourself higher than the bottom of the list. You should probably consider that, because you are worth more. You do count. And all of us have something amazing to deliver in this life that we're living. All of us. And it means filling our cups. It means putting ourselves first, fill our cups, go after, and then with the overflow, serve others and fill the cups of others. Even if it's, and that includes family and friends. And excuse me, you need to come first. So if you're putting off, claiming your plot of land, I would encourage you not to. I would encourage you to go after your plot of land and truly make sure it's your plot of land you're going after, not the plot of land for somebody else. Because I've been there, done that as well. Thinking it was mine, but it wasn't. So think about that. Think about what it would take. What would you need to do to switch your priorities? What does that actually involve? I would submit it first needs a decision to do it. And then it needs coming up with a game plan on how to get it done. As simple as that. First, you take a decision, and then based on the decision and embracing that decision, apply the accountability to say, how do I get it done? Because a lot of people that have themselves at the bottom of the barrel are dealing with a lot of other cascading effects of being at the bottom of the barrel, mainly trying to pull from an empty cup or near to empty cup. Also meaning having health issues. Also meaning some of those health issues are overweight. Some are things like, other habits and behavior, from drinking to smoking to whatever. So what would it take to put you higher than where you have it now? And I would urge that you need to be, by higher, you actually need to be at the top. What would it take to switch those priorities? What would it take to make that decision? What would it take to change some things? And I would say you need to think about that. And because it manifests in other ways. It manifests in your mood. So your mood. It manifests in behavior. It manifests in physical. It manifests in mental states. It manifests other ways. So, what will it take for you to claim your plot of land? With the plot of land being, what are you going after? All right. What are you going after? What will it take? To put you first. What will it take to put you first? What a novel idea. What a novel idea. I was listening to the other day to an Oprah Winfrey speech. And in that speech, she explained that a guest that had a major impact on her was a guest that had survived a plane crash. And she asked him, her line of inquiry was whether or not he felt God had somehow intervened to say and saved his life. Well, he wasn't the only survivor. I don't, yeah, on the flight, but he was the one she spoke to. And he said no. He attributed his life being saved to him moving. But he said as he moved and he looked back, the the fire, the intensity of the fire, and all that was there. When he looked back, he saw people sitting in, like people strapped into their seats, burning. But he said what really thinged him, impacted him, was as they were burning, at the top of their heads were lights were coming out at the top of their heads as they burned. And he said some lights were brighter than others. They were all different size lights, and some were way brighter than, like way bigger and brighter than others. And that was the part that impacted him, because we coming and walking away from that plane crash, his intent and goal going forward from that point forward was to live his life and do everything in his life in a way that would ensure that when he passed from this life, the light that left his body would be a massive light. So, I stopped and I reflected on that for a bit, and because it was very profound. I stopped and I reflected on that because I like to reflect on a lot of things, and I thought, wow. I looked at myself, I questioned, am I living my life in a way that would allow that to happen, that would allow my light to shine and be this massive spotlight, like we talk in the world of internet and social media, ring lights and all of that. How big would my ring light be? How bright would it be? How many different settings of brightness would I have? And I thought about that. And I thought, am I doing the same? And I asked that same question to you. Are you doing the same? Are you living your life in a way to ensure that any light coming out of you is bigger and bright and the brightest of ever to move on. Because to me, that light, and to this gentleman, that light, those lights were reminiscent of people's spirits leaving their body. So how big is your spirit? How big are you willing to make it by pursuing your plot of land? How big? Well, I want mine massive. I want mine to be one hell of a light. Spotlight level. One hell of a light. And hopefully others do as well. So what would you need to change if you are just going through the motions of every day? If you're just, getting from one day to the next. To what degree are you coping? To what degree are you embracing life? To what degree would you say you're living life to the fullest? Because that's what defines a divintastical life. A divintastical lived life is living it to the fullest of your potential and your possibilities. And in order to do that, it means claiming the plot of land that was reserved for you from the time you came into this world. It's starting to understand what that could be. And it's starting steps towards thriving for it. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much perseverance, and not matter how much resilience you need. It's about being committed to that journey, to pursue it, live it, fight for it, proudly claim it, and then massively cultivate it. Within the Gendrix brand, one of the things I do at Summit is seeds of worth. And I think we're all of us seeds of worth. Because we're all worth more, and we're all worth fighting for, and we're magnificent, we're perfect in every way. And many of us don't know that. Many of us can't appreciate that for one reason or another. We can't appreciate that. And I'm imploring you to do. To recognize that you are worth more. To recognize that you are magnificent. And question that magnificence and say, what is it? I want you to be out there cheering on, going, yes, Jen, I'm magnificent, I'm perfect. Yes, yes, you are. Where's my pong-pongs to do my cheerleading for you and me and everybody else? I need to get some of those. Next time I'll have them with me when I stream. I'm writing it down. Get some cheerleading stuff. That's what I'm putting down. I'm putting down cheerleading stuff. Yeah, get some cheerleading stuff for my next. Because yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of so much more. Right? So are you on that path? Are you on the path that will take you to your plot of land? So that when you step on it to claim it, your light just beams. Are you doing all the things in the up leveling that needs to make sure that when you are interacting with people, they see your light, they see your worth, they see your potential, they buy into your potential, they love your potential. Are you doing that? Or are you just living? Because living doesn't mean you're fully living. Living does not mean you're fully living. At one point, I was just living. So I know what that is. I know what it is to just live. It wasn't meaning I was living bad. Doesn't mean I was having a thing life. I've had my ups and downs just like everybody else. I've started businesses that didn't work out. Had to start again. Serial entrepreneurs. I've had success. I've not had success. I've had my ups and shares and up and down. We all have. But we either get beaten down where we just decide we're going to live, which is what happened one time. I just decide I'm just going to live. And then all of a sudden it wasn't satisfying anymore. It wasn't enough. It was no longer enough. And my divine inside was shouting at me. I can't even say it was talking to me any louder anymore. It was shout. It always talked to me, but now it was shouting. It was urgent. It was till it got my attention. And I pivoted, and here I am now, podcasting, an author, a streamer, an influencer, a content creator, a life strategist, certified in 3 boards. In fact, 4 boards, might even be 5. I don't keep track, but right, board certified, which means I'm held to the highest ethical standards and conduct to help people in significant ways. Anxiety, limiting beliefs. That's what going after your plot of land can do for you and looks like. And I still haven't hit my potential yet. But I'm doing the doing. I'm doing the doing. I know, I can tell you I haven't hit my potential because my potential is in the hands of my divine. And as long as I'm doing the doing and know I'm on the right path, I'm where I need to be. But there's still a lot more to come. So I want to cheer you on. I want to cheer you on and let you know that if there's something hidden in your heart that you've always wanted to do and you haven't done, I'm encouraging you to do it. Take a leap of faith. Take a leap of faith. And not just any faith. Take a leap of blind faith where you don't know what the next step will mean, carry, or anything. You just do. That's the journey I've been walking now. And let me tell you, one miracle after another, one miracle after another. One miracle after another unfolded. So, what plot of land are you going to go after? What plot of land will you claim or aim to claim? Are you committed to go the distance, to do the journey? Are you committed? That's what we've got to ask ourselves. And for all you out there that are already pursuing your plot of land, total applause, total admiration. Keep going. It ain't easy. It ain't easy, but keep doing. Keep doing the doing. And let's see what unfolds as you do the doing and as you go forward. Miraculous things will happen. I know for sure they've happened for me. They continue to happen for me. And with each day, I come to accept even more profoundly the journey I'm on. My journey, nobody else's. And it takes courage and bravery. Remember one of the topics we talked about, courage and bravery, that I told you we talked about a few weeks back. It takes courage and bravery. But don't let that stop you. Let that enthuse. Let that excite you. Don't let that stop you. Be courageous. Be brave. Because at the end of the day, all that courage and bravery means is that you've chosen you. You've chosen you. Ear hug, and a beer hug. Squeeze. Ear hug. You've chosen you. How exciting is that? Simply tantalizing. So happy for those who have. Do you? I was only today. Here's an interesting thing that happened today. I thought it was so cute. I was in a line in a store, and there was a mother and her daughter in front of me. And you know how they have these drink things to entice you just before you get to the cash. So the daughter looks at her mom and says, and she's probably about, I would say she's probably about 10, 9, 10. And she says, Mom, can I have a pop, like one of these pop drinks? And the mother says to her, you don't drink pop. And she, as most kids do in this kind of dramatic way, she turns, yeah, but I just wanted to be a normal kid for once. And I heard this and I said to her, pardon me, you are normal. Like, you're normal. Why would you? Don't say things like that. You're normal. And the mother said to me, thank you very much for letting her know that. And then, they were talking from there. But I thought, what an interesting thing to say. Because kids at school, then later, as she continued talking, you got to realize that kids at school are the ones putting the message in her that she's not normal. Because what? You have to, normal is drinking carbonated drinks. Right? And I said to her, it's normal is not a word I really like, because you get to define your normal. You get to define your normal. Don't let other people put on you what their normal is. You define you. You do you. In a good way, always. But you do you. So that was an interesting encounter I had today. But it goes, and the reason I spoke about it is because it goes to sometimes the motivations that stop us from doing what we need to do. Because it might not meet with other people's approval. It might not be well perceived. It might be discouraged by others. But this is where the message of choose you comes from. You can't let that deter you. Choose you. What is it that you love to do that you're not doing? What is it you're passionate about that you're not doing? What is it that you secretly long to do that you're not doing? For me, it was broadcasting. For me, it was this, what I'm doing now. For me, that's what it was. And when I pivoted and started doing things and doing the do, things started to fall into place. That led me to the very thing that I didn't think I could, there would be a platform for me to do. And lo and behold, there was. And now I stream and now I podcast. I do shows. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? And from here, it can only get better. From here, it can only get better. Right? So the question becomes, why not take a leap of faith to go after your plot of land? Right? Why not? And the other way to think about it, and I'm not talking blow up your life to do this sort of thing. I really need to make it clear, because next thing, no, I'm not talking blow up your life to do it. I'm saying decide whatever it is that you see as your plot of land. Then decide what it takes and what it will need to take to cultivate that land, to get to where you want to be, and then do the doing. 3-step formula. A 3-step formula. And forget peer pressure, forget pride, forget these things that are really have no bearing, and just take that leap of faith, because at the end of the day, that's all that has a bearing. The leap of faith, not just any faith, blind faith. That means you don't know what the next step will lead or what will come of it, but trust. And I had huge trust issues for people and for myself. Take the leap of faith, blind faith, and then do the doing. Do what needs to be done. Figure out what needs to be done. Do what needs to be done. When you figure out what needs to be done, that's goals, and that's a plan of action or an action plan. And then do the doing to get the action plan filled out. And be flexible enough to pivot as you go along, because guess what? Things will fall into place. Opportunities will come, and you will have more decisions to make. But it'd be a wonderful problem to have, wouldn't it? Even though I want to have the problem of deciding certain things. Yes, I have a lot on my plate, but I would like the problem of the overloading my plate to have to make decisions. That's a good problem to have, at least for what I'm doing. So, what will it take? For all those that have joined me, thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I encourage any one of you to jump on. Let's have some conversation as a guest. You are more than welcome to do so. So if any, if any one of you want to jump on and talk to me, that would be awesome. One of the things, just to do a little bit of a recap for some that might have just jumped on and going, what is she talking about? I'm Jen Drakes. I'm here every second week. So every other week, on a Saturday night, I am here to discuss Divintastical living from an exploration and embracing point of view. Divintastical living is a concept that I have created. It has led to a Divintastical Living Institute where we have courses to teach you. It's basically a life and school and nurturing center. So it's only and everything about life. And it is both on the personal and business level. We offer different programs and courses that can be taken. We have some, I should call it some of the courses actually that are up and running. We have a Power Up series course in which we are addressing self sabotaging behavior in that course. So, please just look me up or Divintastical Living. You can look that up on LearnDesk, and is where we have the courses. Is on a platform called LearnDesk. And we also have a course coming up in December, a full day course that is teaching self hypnosis. So I'll be teaching people how to induce self hypnosis to help with behaviors, smoking cessation, weight management, anything like that. Um, so if you're interested, check it out. And more courses, more things are coming on. We're going to be launching a um, a subscription, monthly subscription service called Rise, Elevate Your Why. So Divintastical Living is growing. It's now becoming more than a concept. It's now becoming a movement. I post Divintastical Living guidance on my Instagram. So just look up Jen Drakes with two N's, Jenn Drakes, and you'll see our website, which is jendrakes.com. You can listen to my podcast, Arrays of Living. It's on most major networks, iHeartRadio, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on Amazon, it's on Google, it's on all the major platforms. So you can listen to my podcasts. The last one just released was Something to Say. And also in the podcast, once a month, I read the chapter from my book, Aladdin Carpets. Aladdin Carpets is a book I authored that is on Amazon, but I am reading I'm doing the chapter in a podcast audio format once a month till a book I finished the book. So there's a lot of things going on. I am a board designated master coach. And as a master coach, I'm board designated across, it's about 4 boards, from a neurolinguistic programming, which is NLP perspective, to time creating your future, as well as hypnotherapy. So, and being board designated, that means I'm high, held to pretty high standards for ongoing work with clients, running the business, my daily interactions. I am held to a code of conduct, essentially. And it's also prompts continuous learning and improvement in my craft and in my field. So I'm capable of helping individuals overcome some pretty painful things and some pretty life oriented situations, from anxiety to mental health to addictions, PTSD, to, weight management, smoking, like there's all sorts of health and wellness situations that I can address with you. So reach out if you consider that you fall within that, you need support. I'm willing to do that for you. So please know that. And if you want to come and jump on and converse with me, 2 of the questions in this segment that we talked about was, what are you holding on to, was the first, and we talked about that for a good hour. And then what I call plot of land is this now one that we're in, as to if you can imagine that at the time you were born, the divine reserved a plot of land for you and just was waiting for you to be able to move forward in your life experiences and claim that plot of land. What would your plot of land be? What would it look like? What would it, what would it be that you're claiming? And if you just allow, your imagination to roam, what would that be? And so we were talking about that and how important to, it's a metaphor for what it is that you truly, truly want to do and accomplish, that you love to do, that you don't have to think about doing. Nobody has to train you to do it because it comes quite natural. What is that? And if you're not doing it in any kind of full-time capacity, why not? Is because somebody made you feel you wouldn't make money from it, that you wouldn't be able to have a life doing it. So you settled for something else that would pay you and put the money and the thing as a priority over your well-being. Like we've all gone through that and had to pivot. I pivoted. I'm not saying it's everybody falls into this, but there's a large amount of people unhappy. There's enough studies that show that are unhappy in their jobs, unhappy in their lives, that would want something more but are scared to go after something more, or simply don't know how to do it. They don't know how to pivot. They don't know how to make a change. And that's understandable, but it first requires a decision to go after the plot of land. It first requires that, right? And once you've got the decision, then you've got to say, okay, now how do I back that decision? What do I need to do against that decision to stand by it and be accountable to that decision? And then once you've got that, you've got a plan. So now you need to do and act and move against the plan that you laid out. And as you go, you need flexibility to maneuver based on what opportunities fall in your lap, what choices is laid before you, and then new decisions are formed. See how that works? See how that works? We overcomplicate sometimes. It really is that simple. It really, really is that simple. And we tend to we complicate it. Right? So how about that, eh? Imagine that. Wow. So what would you do? What would you do differently? And what you would do differently leads into the last question. Right? Leads into the last question of this segment. If you didn't have a worry in the world, nothing holding you back, nothing, not anything holding you back, what would you do? Right? What would you do with nothing holding you back? Everything's rosy, peachy. Everything is rosy, peachy. There isn't a money worry. There isn't a family worry. There isn't a friend worry. There isn't a circumstance worry. Nothing is there to hold you back. What would you do? Would you be doing exactly what you're doing now? Would you be doing exactly what you're doing now? My answer is yes. I would be writing, always was writing. I would be teaching. just like I'm doing in Divintastical Living Institute. I used to own a school before as well. So that was always there. I would still have my store that I launched, by the way. Take a little shameless plug there, but I wasn't meant to be, but I'll take a shameless plug there. I would still be dealing with product and services like, retail type thing, whether it was a brick and mortar that I open up as a retail store or the way I'm doing it with a Shopify storefront. But the Jen Drake store is there with some amazing things. Check it out if nothing else, right? But you can get to it from my website. So if you go to jendrakes.com and you browse the website, you'll see the shop. Go and look and see, especially now with holiday time, would be a great time to get some amazing things and surround yourself with positive affirmations and messaging is really what that store is about. And it's the institute, and then I would be podcasting or broadcasting or doing something major regarding speaking and being in front of people because that's what I love to do. So I would do what I'm doing now. 5 years ago, I would be telling you a different response, is what I'm saying. 3 years ago, I would have been telling you a different response. But now, to that question, I can absolutely say I'll be doing the same thing I'm doing now because I love doing what I'm doing. Love it. It's the first time I feel whole. I feel complete. I feel I've found my calling. I feel like I am on my way to my plot of land. That's how I feel. So in asking that question, what would be your answer? What would be your answer? So jump on and tell me, because going into the last hour, I want to talk about this. What would you do if you had no worries? You just won the big ball lottery. And I'm not, and that I didn't want to use the lottery because most people that have lottery lose it all, but I don't want to say that. But that because I'm telling you, I don't really like negative thoughts. So anyway, you have nothing holding you back. Nothing. You have the support of your family. You have supportive friends. You've got, you don't have to go slap the 9 to 5 thing. You can have whatever you want. What would you be doing? And don't tell me basking on a beach, because you can only bask on a beach for so long. You can only do that laissez-faire thing for so long. So what would you pursue? There's no money worries, nothing. Your conscience is clear, your ability, your capacity to take on stuff is there. What would you do? I remember asking somebody that and they said they'd be an editor. I said, it was so far removed. It was so far removed from what I would have thought. That I would never have guessed it. Another one that blew me away when that question was asked, they said they would have a bird sanctuary. Come on now. They said they would have a bird sanctuary. Where did that come from? And me being the cheerleader, I'm like, yeah, you go and get your bird sanctuary. What's stopping you from getting your bird sanctuary? Those were the sort of answers that people got and were given. So what would your answer be? And it was so far removed from what they were doing now. That's how disconnected, incongruent they are. Because the bird sanctuary was from their heart. It really was. So was the other answer, was from the heart. Right? So I know There's a lot of people out there doing what they need to do to survive and get by. But if they had the chance to change it and do something different, they would. And if they had no issues, society, no issues, the answers they would give from their heart are completely different from what they're living now and doing now. It would be very different. One of the things I love is driving. I love driving. I'm one of those people. I like driving. That really doesn't bother me. Since COVID, I'm a little, I'm more irritated by people on the road. But anyway, that's just because of confinement and now just not used to it anymore. But I love driving. I've loved driving my whole life. As soon as I could go and get my license, I was there, man. When they said, who wants, and at that time they brought it into the school. So the school you'd sign up for your driving lessons from the school themselves. So as soon as the high school said, you're now of an age, you can go and get, who wants to get, we were taking, application for who want to go and drive. We have it all over. I was there, man. I was there. I was there. They didn't have to convince me of anything. And I've been driving ever since. I love driving. So if I had another thing I would do would be a driver. But not when I say a driver, I'm talking Indy 500. A racing driver, a racing car driver. I'd be one of those. So you see how bizarre, like the thing would be that if you said nothing, I'm not talking bucket list stuff. I'm talking I would have tried that, but it's an expensive sport. So then money has a factor. Sponsorship. You got to get all that sort of And I probably wasn't courageous enough to say because it probably would mean at that time a female race car driver. But now they have them, right? So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm being silly, but I don't think I am. I would definitely explore that race car driving. So and my point is, when you come from things at the heart, it is very different from what you're doing. Because listen to what I just said: a race car driving, and exactly what I'm doing today, broadcasting, doing shows, speaking, writing, influencing. Like that's my stuff. That's my hen basket, right? Like that's my thing. That's what I would be doing, and that comes from the heart. So, what would you be doing? And is it really that unthinkable for you to be doing that or start it in some way now, especially with technology the way it is and where it's going? There's so many things we couldn't even fathom doing back then that we can now do now. So, is it something that you need to pull out of the closet, pull out of, from the dust mites, dust it off and say, oh, yes, I remember I wanted to do that once? Is it so bizarre? No, it isn't. It isn't. So bank on yourself. That's my message going into this last hour. Bank on yourself. Choose you. I'm going to repeat that message again. Choose you. I said it on a previous, I'm saying it now. Bank on yourself. If your priorities right now have every priority above you and you are at the bottom of the barrel, you need to switch your priorities. Because I can pretty much guarantee that you are pulling from nothing. Your cup is almost empty and you're giving every piece of your energy to others. And what's refueling and recharging you unless you have something in place to refuel and recharge you? Some do, some don't. So, what is recharging you? What is keeping you going? What is overflowing, not just filling your cup, or getting it higher than it is, but what's actually going to overflow your cup because you're so happy, you're so contented. What is going to flow your cup so that you have more than enough to share with other people? What is that? Right? Think about it. What is that? Awesome, right? So we have to look at life differently. I once described this situation in which I literally got in my car, I drove to work, ended up in the parking lot, and couldn't even remember the drive. It freaked me out when I realized that. I couldn't even remember the drive. The drive was so commonplace that I didn't even have to think about it. And I went through traffic. I went on a highway. I know, and I didn't remember the drive. And I was sitting in the parked car going, "What the freak?" And I left that job because I thought that's like that tells me something's off, right? When I'm just going through the motions now, there's no me in it, and I left the job, and it was the right decision. So, how many of us are going through our shites, you know? How many of us are going through the motion of just living and not really living? We're just going from day to day, existence, thing to another. How many of us are going through that? And I'm going to tell you, a lot of parents are, because a lot of parents have a very stringent routine, right? On Monday is piano lessons. On Tuesday is sports lessons. On Thursdays, library. Then we have to go drop them to school, pick them up from school, drop them, drop to daycare, be there to pick them up in daycare. That's a robotic life. I get it that, we need routine every week. All of us need some kind of routine. But when it becomes a real, like a mechanical type of routine, we need to pause and just say, how do I shake it up? That's why, too, as you go through that and you're raising kids, that sometimes we find then that, mother and father have grown apart because they've been just going through the motions of raising their kids, getting to the end of the day, falling in thing, going to sleep. All of a sudden, they're very disconnected, and that leads a lot of times to where they separate. And the ones that can make it through that period and reconnect and re-energize their wedding vows and themselves and their passion for each other, they make it through. But the ones that aren't able to do that, that's when they end up in divorce or separation or whatever else you end up with. I know, been there, done it, done. I get it, right? But we have to take stock, and at some point we're going to have to stop and look and go, how did I get here? That's how we have that oh my god moment. How did I get here? Like, what am I doing? This is not how I pictured my life 20 years, 30 years, 10 years ago. We have this, come to Jesus moment. How did I get here? And if you're having those types of moments, COVID made a lot of people have those moments, to the point that a lot of people changed their lives. Many retired, many changed, like literally pivoted what they were doing. Many quit their jobs. Some were let go, and that turned into a saving grace for them. Others, like that's something that COVID delivered to us. What does it take for you to stop and go, how did I get here? What do I want for myself? Am I living my best life? Am I living my life fully? Am I going after my plot of land? Am I claiming my plot of land? And if I have hit a pivotal of what society deems to be successful, is there more still there for me to do? Have I done what I am supposed to have done? These are the things we have to ask ourselves. And I'll be the first to tell you, I've been going through that. I have been. And I'm on the right track now. Because there was a point where I would be driving and I'd be saying, there's got to be more than out of life than this. What is going on here? I'm not growing. I need to grow. I'm helping everybody else grow. I'm dealing with everybody else's stuff. I'm not like, and I'm at the bottom of the barrel. I was literally at the bottom of the barrel. And I had to change my priorities. I had to pivot. I had to reset my life and literally pivot. And I did that. Right? But it ain't easy. And I'll be the first to tell you, it ain't easy, but it's necessary. Listen to that. It ain't easy, but it's necessary. Because then we start to think, especially the older we get and the lesser time that we have. Because saying I have one life fully lived, we have only one life to fully live. There's only one life to fully live. Yeah, when we think the body will die, you can move on to that. But this is the life we have to focus on, because this is the life we had. And I believe we came into it with a purpose and an intent and a plot of land waiting for us. The thing is to find out what that plot of land is, where it might be. Is it mountainous? Is it valley? Is it plateau? Is it, waterfront? Like, what is it? And then figure out how you cultivate it. How do you sow it? How do you make it flourish? How do you grow it? And of course, that's an analogy and a metaphor for what your real purpose and potential is. But we all have it. So what would you do if nothing was there holding you back? Absolutely nothing. What would you do differently? What would you change? Think about that. Think about that. Because it's really important. And the sooner we figure that out, the more exponential our life is in the time we have. So the sooner we figure it out, the longer of a life we have to really cultivate. When we figure it out later, who knows how much time we have left to cultivate it. But I'd rather be on the path, and rather be going after and seeing it now in my sight. Because in my line of sight, I can now see it. And I've got my game plan, and I'm going after it. Right? And it takes courage and it takes bravery to make that decision. It takes courage and it takes bravery to answer these questions. It takes courage and it takes bravery to look in the mirror and face sometimes things you don't want to face. And it takes courage and it takes bravery to make the decisions to change. It takes courage and it takes bravery to embrace change. And Divintastical living takes courage and bravery, because it's about going after your life in the fullest of way and becoming the artisan of that life. That means you're painting it. You're weaving it. You're co-creating it as you go. That takes bravery and courage, because it doesn't mean to follow other people. It means defining you. Nobody can define you. You can't. People, you're unique. You're magnificent. You're perfect, and you're unique. So you can't look to other people and say that's, you can go and go, I'm inspired by that. I'm really enthused by that, like singer one singer looking at another singer and saying, I want to sing like that person. I want to be a big singer like that person. But it doesn't mean you'll be that person. It means you going after the singing as being the talent that you need to do and that you need to foster. And then deciding in which way you'll sing. Will you sing jazz? Will you sing, pop? Will you sing country? Will you sing rock? Like, what type of singing? Even acting, and other people go acting. What type of acting you're going to be? A dramatic actor, a soap opera actor, a reality one. Like, what are you going to be? And it's just like me. I want to be, I want to do broadcasting in a bigger way. I want to do, continue my podcast and speak about things that matter to people that will help them get the bravery and the courage that they need. That's what I want to do. I want to be that the fire under people to empower them to be brave and courageous about what they want and who they are and what how the world should look at them and have them define it for themselves. I want to help people do that. So how will you use what inspires you? The things you might be able to see where you want to go from the things that inspire you, but now how will you do it? Because yours will have a different flavor of some sort. I do not stream like every other streamer. I don't play games. I don't, I'm not saying all streamers play games, but I'm not a gamer and I speak for things. Some people go, how do you do that? That's so long. Like, how do you do that? It's because I I love what I'm doing. And it doesn't seem long to me. It doesn't seem long to me. Right? So, what, how would you change how would you bring forth your potential? Is the question I think I'm asking. How would you bring forth your potential? What would make you different? Even as you look at different streamers, we all stream differently. We bring our own unique flavor. For me, I just want to come across authentic. I want to make sure that you realize there's no pretense in me. What you see is what you get. You know, I'm going through this as I'm changing and up leveling over the next little while. You'll see my look change because that's what before I, had different glasses. I got new glasses. Um, I'm going to be doing things differently because as I come into and embrace myself and who I am and what my, spirit is truly all about, that will start to come out. Because as I said, I told you, go and listen to the podcast, something to say. There's an aspect in that podcast that I share that the best part of me I had buried. And now I want to show the best part of me. And this is the best part of me. So, what's the best part of you? What are you hiding from the world of you that you probably shouldn't? Right? Especially when it's good. Like, I mean, if it's good, then yes. Don't hide the best part of you, but define you. Define you, right? Define you and your actions, and you know, and it's also the other aspect to think about. It's about legacy as well. The song I always speak to when I talk about this is the Beyonce song. I was here. I think that's what it's called. I might have it wrong, but it's she sings about letting people know that you stood for something and that you had a presence on this world. And uh, and it goes back to the story the one I told you that when I was listening to the Oprah speech when she spoke about the guy and he said he was motivated because he wants his spirit to come out big and bright. He wanted to be one of the big and bright spirits that came out of his body. So whatever it is that, gets you to say, I'm going to do this. I can do this. I want to do this, and commit to doing it, and do what the doing that needs to be done to get you where you need to go. Do it. Do it. Because you are capable of doing it. And you were given what you needed. You need to seek out other things because there might be stuff you still need. But the commitment gets you there. The commitment gets you there. If you're truly committed, you'll get there. Right? What is it that you are holding back on? What is it that you would go after if you didn't have anything holding you back? What would you do? What would you be? Who would you be? How bright would that spotlight be? How passionate could you be in whatever it is you would do and be? How would you serve? How would you serve? Because I think a lot of people would be in service if they didn't have some of the burdens of life, if they didn't have, and they did, as I said, if you took away all those burdens, what would you be? I think a lot of people would serve. They would go and help the less fortunate, or contribute in some way to the less fortunate. What values do you hold? There's so much and so many ways we could take this conversation. But in this final juncture, it's all about what are you maximizing your potential? Or are you cowering and hiding? Or are you hesitant because you don't have the level of belief in yourself? Do you have limiting views or limiting beliefs of yourself? Are you scared? Right? And my thing for fear, FEAR, is face everything and rise. So when the next time you think about fear, think about that. Face everything and rise. First time I heard that was from a gentleman, a colleague of mine, Mr. B. And I told him, I said, I'm going to use that because I love that so much. And he got it from somewhere. But the point is, face everything and rise. So the next time you feel the fear, think of that. No different to if you're scared of no's, the next time you hear no, think next opportunity. Smile, thank them, walk away, their loss, not mine. Move on. Right? KFC had 1,000 refusals before he finally found somebody that took him serious. Bill Gates had 350 no's before he finally got someone that took him serious. And on and on and on. J.K. Rowling, 10 years of no's before she got someone to finally take her seriously. So these things happen. No, it's just next opportunity. Resiliency is what all of those things calls out. Do we all have it? Excuse me. Do we all have it? The resiliency and perseverance to keep going and keep going and keep going. We hear stories, Tony Robbins talked about, losing everything because of a bad business deal and having to having obligations, having to meet those obligations, and having to come back from there. I've hit rock bottom and have to come back from there. We've all have these stories. It's about the perseverance to keep going, taking the learnings and moving forward with the learnings, but don't let the past shackle you. Don't let you be beholden to the past. Choose not to live in the past. Choose not to be anchored by the past. Choose to use the learnings from the past to apply to the now, looking forward to the future. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And before we finish up and before I forget, I want to do a shout out to Manual Magazine. If you haven't heard of it, please look it up. Manual Magazines. I've got I had an interview, and I also have some articles coming out onto that magazine. But not that's not why I'm shouting it out. It's a youth. I love when young people are doing amazing things. And again, just it's part of the theme about taking a leap of faith, and this person has, and I want to just commend them for doing it. Mercedes, a shout out to you at Manual Magazine. So keep doing what you're doing. It's a wonderful thing. So I just want to also do give that shout out. But also, so let's go. I want people to know they can do things, especially when they're ordained for it. And what I'm doing, I was ordained for. It's always been in the back of my head. It was in my earlier life. I used to, you know, be very prominent out there doing community things, doing um, public facing things. And I always wanted to take it a step and now we have the platforms that make it a lot easier, but make it also a lot accessible. And the timing of now was perfect for me. So all the other times were learnings getting here. All the other times were learnings getting to this point. So, yes, right? These are the things that we need. So, again, I ask, what does it take? What will it take for you to at least pause, reflect, and think about, are you living the fullest life that you can live? And if you think you are, is it such that you don't need to do anything more anymore because you have reached your potential? What an interesting thought, right? Have you reached your potential, or is there more in you still to do? That's really all that means. Is there more in you still to do? So these are questions we have to ask ourselves and take stock of every now and then and do checkpointing. This whole fall season from September to December, I do checkpointing. I checkpoint during the year, but the fall seasons when I set my goals, I've already got my goals laid out for 2023. I'm going to do my visioning over the holidays, my vision board for 2023. And I've already taken stock of what goals I had set for 2022 and which ones were fulfilled. And let me tell you, a lot of them are fulfilled. So these are things I do in preparation to make sure my year goes as I intended. And when new opportunities come, which a lot of new opportunities fell in my lap at the time I needed them, That's the miraculous things that start to happen. It's quite amazing when it does. But I set my intentions going into the new year, and my intentions then bring the what is needed to start to birth things. So these are the things that we need to do. Set the SMART goals, assess. And this episode is this session's really just about asking you and nurturing you and encouraging you and probing to see to what degree have you done a checkpoint? To what degree have you paused and said, am I where I thought I should be, wanted to be? How did I get here? Is there more for me that can be gotten from me? Is there more in me that I can give? Is there more potential for me to give? And if there is, what is it? And how do I go about doing it? Those are questions that we need to ask. I would say you need to ask it at least 3 times a year. I like to do it more every quarter. And then I take a whole season. I take a whole season from September to December, a whole quarter, to be truly action and plan, action plan oriented, checkpoint, annual checkpoint moment, set new goals, take stock of prior goals, see if I can make ones that like get the ones that didn't get done and move on. But the goals I had set for myself have all started to take shape, from the Institute, the Divintastical Living Institute, to the storefront, to the subscription service, to the my poetry book is there for publishing. I'm finishing up my second book for publishing. I'd like to get that done before the end of the year. Like, these things are all starting. The book is later than I thought. And the recovering perfectionist in me is showing its maturity in that I'm not upset. I set a new goal time. That's one that has been pushed because I'm guided as well. And I've found that every time I push it, there's a reason. It's divine pushing to say it's not the time yet. So I haven't tried to be the force and do it anyway, because I'm going with the flow of my energy, with the flow of the intention. So the book is 85% done. I just need to finish up, and I added some new chapters that I didn't foresee adding. But that is one that I believe I can finish by the end of the year. I'll let you know. I'll be honest about it if I don't. But that's the one goal that didn't get done. And some of the goals that I thought would not make it got done. the one so this is what smart goaling does for us. It makes us very action oriented towards the plot of land we're going towards. So that's why I answered the question the way I did. It is just to foster us thinking, right? And good dialogue and interesting thoughts and conversations, but makes us turn inward to self-reflect and say, where do I fit in all of this? Is the priority of me low? Is the priority of me middle? Is the priority of me high? It's really a question of, where do I fit in all of this? Where do you fit in all of this? Right? We set that in the intentions and we go on. So where do we fit? What an interesting concept. So we have to ask ourselves that, right? And it's not from a point of critique. It's not from a point of finger pointing. It's not from a point of blame. It's not from a point. It's really about self correction if you need to. No different than if you had a behavior that you wanted to change, you just self correct. You don't go, oh, well, you know, it's not a beat up. And it's about going, making sure you're always going in the right direction, because sometimes life takes us off track. How do we get back on track? That's what happened after high school. I went off track. I didn't even realize I went off track till I finally pivoted and got that urgent messaging from inside, going, "What the hell are you doing? We need you." Like you know. And I pivoted. That's when I realized, oh, so sometimes life takes us off track, and we have to have things in place that allows us to at least assess that we're off track and to figure out how to get back on track. And that's all this conversation is about. That's all this whole session was about, is are you on track and how do you get back on track? And better yet, how do you know you are pursuing what you need to pursue? And the way to get to that is to take all the stress away about all the things you worry about, all the things you think about will be, all the people you think won't approve, all that. Take all of that BS away. And if you had none of that, literally, you know, the world was your oyster, what would be the pearl? What would you do? And as I showed you before, amazingly, amazingly different responses from what people are currently doing. Just telling you from a summit I did, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable the differences that came out. So I believe that many of us, I'm not going to say all of us, but many of us are doing things, involved in things that are not based on where our heart wants us to go. And that needs authentic recognition. It needs to be looked at, it needs to be embraced, it needs to be considered. It really does. Because I say again, I'm your cheerleader on the sidelines. And I see the magnificence in you. I believe in the magnificence in you. And I believe in the potential of all of us. And I think that potential is huge. And that's why I have and say all the time that what I do is because you are worth more. What I do is to enable me with all the tools and the resources to get you where you need to be, to actually unveil that potential, unveil that magnificence of you. That's the work that I do. So if you need help, if you are struggling, if you are fearful, if you have limiting beliefs, if you are anxious, reach out, because where you can find me is at Jen at youareworthmore.co, not .com, .co. So Jen at youareworthmore.co is where you can reach out and let's chat. Let's have a meet and greet. Let's just chat. There's no obligation, nothing. Just chat. and see how I can help. Because that's the work I do. And my desire is to make everyone shine, empower you to step into the spotlight. That's what I want to do. Inspire you to step into your spotlight. And what I love is I'm not asking you to do anything I'm not doing, because I'm on my own journey as well. And I had to get comfortable stepping into the spotlight. I had to get comfortable doing this. I had to get comfortable podcast. I had to get comfortable coming out of the closet as a writer. At one point, I had fear that people would reject my writing, reject me. And I had to get over that. And I did. I did. It wasn't easy. I'm going to tell you it was easy. It wasn't easy. I'm never going to tell you it was easy. But there was determination and there was willingness this time to do it. And so I did it. And so I did it. Because I'm going after my plot of land. Because I got more. There's more coming from Jen Drakes. There's more help, more support, more enlightenment, more messaging, more. There's more coming from Jen Drakes. This ain't over. There's so much more. Why are you hearing my voice twice? You're going to video games, Tommy? Oh, see you, sweetie. See you. I don't know why I got to look into that, why you're hearing my voice twice. I'll find out about that. Thanks for letting me know. Hugs. Hugs, hugs, hugs. So, yeah. See ya. So, yes. We will figure that out. So, on one of the platforms, they're telling me my voice is echoing twice. So I have to look at that. So there we go. Finally. So there. So we have to figure out what is going on there. Sorry, there was just a bit of a technical thing. So sorry, I lost my train of thought a bit. My apologies. So anyway, what at the end of the day, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to understand. At least I believe very strongly. We all came here with a purpose in mind. And I know it's easy to use the word purpose. It's a simplistic word that can have so much underlying complexities. And we hear that all across social media. Oh, we have a purpose. We have a purpose. I get, and I don't want to lighten it, but at the same time, what are we can't just come into this world, go through the motions, leave this world, and what? I once heard that the graveyard is the richest place in the world, and I thought that was a pretty profound statement. I really did. I thought it was such a profound statement. And the reason they said that it's the richest place in the world is because of all the untapped potential, plus the lost knowledge, right? A lot of wisdom lost, and a lot of untapped potential, and a lot of regrets. Now think about that. That is really, it's it's such a it's one of those things that makes you lean your head and just go, wow. But it also puts a spark under you to say, I don't want to be that. I don't want to fall into that basket. I want people to know I was here. I want people to know I stood for something. And I want to leave breadcrumbs of my thoughts, of those very things I stood for. I want to leave breadcrumbs of love because I helped some people, right? I helped people in meaningful ways. Those are the breadcrumbs I want to leave. I don't want to be in any graveyard and didn't touch the people that I needed to touch. And if I do have a purpose, if I don't live to my purpose, that means that I have let people down. I have let something down. And I don't want that. And I don't believe you want that either. I don't believe people who, or if you change your perspective to think of it a bit differently, I think you would choose differently. I think most people would choose differently. So all I want to do is lay some of the thoughts to make you have that change perspective, to look and do some self-reflection, do some checkpoints on your life and say, am I headed in the right direction? Or am I off track in any way? How do I self-correct now and get back on track? That's what I want to do. So when I think about that graveyard, you know, sentiment, and when it was shared, it definitely made me stop and think. But it also made me know that's not what I want for myself. And it sets me in the right direction that I want for myself. So hopefully this broadcast did the same for all those listening. Hopefully it did. It sets you in the right direction. Right? Hopefully we do. So think about that. As I go to wrap up, think about that. I leave you with those thoughts. And hopefully I have an impact on anyone listening or watching in replay. So hopefully that is what indeed happens. Because life is so precious. You know, when I think about it, life is so precious. And it can be gone in the blink of an eye. And in the last couple of years, we've been marred in heightened lost souls. The amount of souls that have been lost to us has increased, certainly from my viewpoint. And I have a hereditary line of long living individuals. So, my grandmother is 101. Just had her 101 birthday not too long ago. Um, so the amount of lost souls has just been unbelievable in the last few years, and they continue even as we speak. So life becomes even more precious, becomes even more precious. So the question becomes, how can we maximize it? Are we maximizing it? Are we living it fully? And is it divintastical? Is the living of our lives divintastical? Are we putting the right perspective on life? And are we focused on the right things in living our lives? These are all the fundamental questions that we have to ask ourselves, that only we can answer. And nobody's looking for your answer. These are answers you get to answer with yourself and be honest with yourself about. I'm not going to hear the answer unless you jump on it and we talk about it. But these are the answers that you have to ask yourself, and are the questions you ask yourself and you answer for yourself. And it's only between you and yourself. Because if there's something that's always with you, is yourself. You're always with yourself. You can't get away from that. So think about it, because that's all I wanted to do, was lay the breadcrumbs of thoughts for you to do a check-in with yourself. And a check into how you're living your life. And I'll repeat the questions that I asked, especially for those now joining. I asked, what are you holding on to? Which a lot of people call grudges, right? But it may not be a grudge. It may be something that got implanted when you were young. It doesn't, that's guiding your life, guiding your choices, guiding your behavior. What are you holding on to? That was the first question. The other question was, imagine having that a plot of land was reserved for you when you were conceived and born, and you came out and the divine had a plot of land for you. What would be your plot of land? What would it look like? What could you imagine? Trickle your imagination, because we don't, as adults, we don't imagine enough sometimes, and we really need to trickle, to stimulate our imagination. So using your imagination, what would that plot of land be? I said mine would be an island with beautiful white surrounding sand, beautiful foliage, trees, everything you need, an apple tree, coconut tree to give shade. There'd be areas where you can get shade, you know, like all I could describe my plot of land in from my imagination, but the analogy and the metaphor of the plot of land is really, what would you be going after? Because that plot of land is meant for you to claim and cultivate and make flourish. So what would that be for you? That was the question that I asked. And then the other thing is, if you'd had no worries, literally took away everything you can possibly worry about, anything that could hold you back, anything that could shackle you, anything that, you know, would prevent you, all that goes away. You have complete peace of mind. What would you do? what would you do? Is it the same thing you are doing now? Would you still be doing that? Because some of the examples that I gave was one person, when I asked this, I did a summit on this and I asked this question, and one person said that they would have a bird sanctuary. And where did that come from? Because the person is a scientist. They're in science. But they would have a bird sanctuary. So those were some of the examples that I gave. It blew my mind. And most people's answers had nothing to do with what they were currently doing. Zero. And I said, if you asked me that 5 years ago, mine would be an extreme answer too, related to broadcasting, writing, anything creative. It would not have been what I was doing, which was IT, which was technology, project management, program management. That was what I was doing. It would have nothing to do with that. And it would have been, well, now I can say, when you ask me that, I do what I'm doing now, because I know I'm on the way to my plot of land. In fact, I can see my plot of land more clearly than I ever could before. But that's because I pivoted. I did a pivot and I did the doing that I needed to do. So that's what we were, discussing and speaking about, is all of that. So, what would you do differently if you had nothing holding you back? Are you where you should be, or you're off track and you need to get back on track? Because the answer typically comes from the heart when we answer that, because you have no reason, you have no excuses. There's no way to make an excuse. I'm saying everything goes away that would stop you. What would you do? And everything then comes from the heart. And what comes from the heart ends up being very differently than how we're living right now. So take stock, spend this time taking stock of where you are in life right now, and are you maximizing your life? Are you maximizing the potential you hold in this life? To not only serve you, but to serve others. Where do you fall in the priority of your life? Are you at the bottom? As you take all your energy to focus on everyone, and especially if you're a parent, we know you do this. So are you putting all your energy out and leaving nothing back for yourself? What are you doing to rejuvenate, to regenerate? Right? What are you doing for yourself? And if you're not doing anything for yourself, then maybe start introducing some things done for yourself. Start making you a priority. I would talk to someone, and I remember trying to get 30 minutes out of a day for them to actually isolate 30 minutes out of a day for themselves was like pulling teeth. It literally was like pulling teeth. 30 minutes out of a 24-hour day. You can't find 30 minutes for yourself. Finally, when they did, guess what now? It's a habit. They now do it. And they feel it when they don't get that 30 minutes. They actually feel it. So, what I'm saying to you is that it's time to stop, pause, and do a check in on your life. Do a check in on you. And if you as a priority is at the bottom of the barrel, flip that barrel and put you at the top. And you start by finding time for yourself. I did a massage today. In the week, I did a movie. First time I went back to a movie theater since COVID. But I went to support because I actually saw The Woman King. But these are things done for yourself. Going to see a movie is 2 hours. That was over 2 hours, actually. It's probably more like three by the time you think. Um, my massage was an hour in the mornings. Anybody who follows me and thing will know that the morning is my time. I take another hour, 2 hours in the morning for myself. So, what are you doing to rejuvenate and make sure that you are priority at some point? You should always be priority because you need to fill your cup. You need to make sure your cup is filled so that you have more overflowing in it to give to others and you become a better person. You become a more tolerable person when you do that. You really do. You're kinder, you're softer, you are more, you have the right mindset because you get to set your intentions. The morning's important to me because I set my intentions. And my 3 words are lead with love. Lead with love. Those are my 3 words. And I set the intention of that so that as I get through the day, I can put that forward first, that energy forward first in any encounter with anyone or anything, even if it's an animal. So that's what that can do for you. And make sure you are on the right track of where you need to go, aligned to your potential, your purpose, and the things that give you passion, that you love to do. Those are headed when you're starting to head in the right way to Divintastical living. And as I move to wrap up, let me first thank everyone who joined me today to listen in. I really appreciate the support. I appreciate you as you listen to me. I'd like to see more of you jumping on, talking to me, but that's okay. That'll come with time. And I just want to let those who recently jumped on know you're listening to Jen Drakes. I am a master coach and a brand that I think is well known and growing that is all about living a full life. It's all about taking responsibility for your life. It's all about living that life fully, not in pieces, not fragmented, but fully in ways that makes you fulfilled, in ways that leaves breadcrumbs of who you were when you were here and what you stood for. Living that life in a way that sets you as a role model for your kids, your family, your friends on how to live life, how to truly enjoy life, how to have perpetual happiness in life. That's what Jen Drake stands for. I'm the creator of Divintastical Living as a concept and now a movement that led to the Divintastical Living Institute, which is a way to get courses and take courses on things like we have the Power Up course, and it's a series that is focused on self-sabotage and behavior and how to stop it and recognize it and become aware of it and what things and tools and resources can be used to prevent it from happening and from you doing it to yourself. I have a course coming up in December and January that kickstarts 2023 in the right way And it's a course on on self hypnosis to address behavioral things you want to correct. And more are coming as we unfold more of the courses. They'll start to come into the Institute. Gendrix also has a storefront as you're doing, going through getting ready for the holiday season and Thanksgiving in the US and all of that, and just other celebrations around the world, or even just everyday living. And if you want to have around you very positive messaging and products and things that, really sends the message of good living, good thoughts, positivity into your life, please check out the Jen Drake store front. And all of this centers, you can get to all of this from my website, which is Jen Drakes, JENNDRAKES, my name, jendrakes.com. And you can also, there you'll have my podcast, you'll have the store, you'll have the different products and services that are offered there. You'll see interviews and my articles and my writing. So you're from that website, you can get to any and everything about me. I come on every other weekend on a Saturday, 8 o'clock, and I run till pretty much 11, a little after if I start a little later. So really look forward to getting to know all of you, to interacting with you. This is what I do. I love to speak. I love to write. I love to influence positivity in people's life. And I love to let people know they are perfect the way they are. They're magnificent. And it's all about you now becoming aware of that and embracing that for yourself. My job is to peel the onion skin to make sure that you see it for yourself. And that's how I can help you as a life strategist, as a business accelerator, and as a master coach. I'm also board designated in the resources and tools that I use to do all of that. So I am accountable and I'm under strict ethics and conduct, codes of conduct for working with clients, for living my life, and for running my business. So, with that, I just wanted to give you a sense of who you're listening to and why you should listen. And, from my heart to yours, on that note, I will bid you good night. And thank you again for listening. And I will see you not next weekend, but the following weekend. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you all so much. Really do appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good one.